Hi everyone, it's Ellie here from Thankful Flow Yoga. I've got a lovely heart opening flow here for you today. So we're really going to be working into opening the body and the heart. And so pleased that you're here to do this practice with me, and we will get started shortly. To start lying down, we're going to start lying down today, so in like a shavasana position, so lying on your back. So just find a comfortable place where you can just relax and lie down, and so we can just ground into the class. So if it feels comfortable to, you can start to close your eyes here. Or you can just keep them open with a steady gaze, whatever feels best. And just let your feet fall out to the side, relaxing your legs. Maybe bring your palms so that they're facing the ceiling. Start to relax the jaw, the neck and the shoulders. Let your shoulder blades sink down into the mat. And start to notice your breathing. Notice on the inhale where the breath travels to in your body. Can you feel it in your chest, maybe in your ribs, maybe in your belly? And maybe you start to observe any thoughts that might be popping into your mind at this time. And just notice them. And I invite you today to just notice any of these thoughts or any self-talk that maybe comes into your mind, either throughout the practice or maybe afterwards or before. And just observe if that self-talk is something that is showing the same love and kindness that we would give to someone that we care about. And when you're ready, start bringing some awareness back into the body and start to roll over onto your front very slowly and mindfully. However feels most comfortable to get there, start to come over onto your belly so that you're now lying on your front. You can either keep the eyes closed or you can start to open them, whatever feels right for you. And bring the palms to the mat, just roughly sort of in line with your head. And you're going to come into a cobra. So first of all, just press the tops of your feet into the mat and engage that lower body. So engaging the legs and the glutes. And then on the inhale, roll your shoulders back and just slightly lift your chest away from the mat. Exhale, lower the chest back down. And then on your next inhale, you can either come to a cobra again, or You can slide the hands forward slightly, coming to the forearms and come into a Sphinx. So you're just coming up slightly higher and your heart's opening slightly more. So there's more of a bend in the spine here. And again, really mindful of the lower body being engaged, because this really is supporting the lower back and the lower spine. And you can just take a couple of breaths in your Sphinx or in your Cobra. And then on your next exhale, lower the body back down to the mat. And then you're going to come up one more time, either to your Cobra or your Sphinx on the inhale. And if you're in your Sphinx and you do feel like you would like a little bit more, you can really ground the palms into the mat and lift the forearms off. Really make sure you're engaging the lower body if you're coming into this one, which again is bringing more of an opening. And just taking a couple of breaths wherever you are. You don't have to be in Seal, you could be in Cobra and be working with that. Just do what feels right today. And when you're ready, lower the body back down and release down onto your front. Then grounding through the palms, start to lift the body up into a tabletop, so all fours tabletop position. So grounding through the palms of the hands into the mat, tops of the feet pressing into the mat here as well. And maybe just take some rocks forward and back, just warming up into the wrists. So this doesn't have to be a really big movement, this can be quite a small movement. We just want to warm the wrists up. And just think about engaging the inner line of energy now as well. So start thinking about engaging the core muscles, especially this lower abdominals. And then when you're ready, start to bring the left foot through between the hands, or as close to between the hands as feels comfortable, coming into a low lunge. So we've got a couple of options here. If you've got some blocks, you can use them to support you here, or if instead you've got kind of a thick book or something, you can always bring these to frame the foot and place your hands on them to really help support in the lower lunge. So that's just an option. If your hands are still on the mat, on an inhale, see how it feels to bring them away and sweep them up to the sky. And maybe thinking about bringing the ribs away from the hips, making some length and space in the body. Maybe you take a slight heart opener here. So we're slightly, very, very slightly taking a bend in the spine. This is a really small and mindful movement. And opening up the heart. This is just an option. You can keep your hands on the mat working in the low lunge. On your next exhale, everybody bring your hands back down to frame the foot. Release the foot back to all fours tabletop position. Maybe take a couple of rocks here, forward and back, maybe side to side. Just a gentle warm into the wrists and just neutralizing the spine. And then when you're ready, step the right foot through between the hands this time. And just to check in with a bit of alignment here in the low lunge, ideally we want the knee to be in line with the ankle, so to be able to see your big toe. If your knee is coming really far over, you can actually step your foot out a little bit more to get that alignment that you need to feel into the stretch. If this is quite strong on the back leg or on the knee, you can get a cushion or a blanket to support underneath to make it feel more comfortable. So on the next inhale, reach your arms up into the sky above your head. And think about staying really strong in the core, in the inner line of energy here. Think about your pelvis is coming up and in towards your body, really activated and strong. Maybe you start to take a little heart opener here, lifting. And then exhale your hands back down to frame the foot. And then bring the foot back to neutral tabletop. Tuck the toes under. Bring your hips up to the sky. And then just start to walk the feet in towards the hands. And we're just going to hang down here in a forward fold. So your feet are about hip width apart. Your knees can be as bent as they need to be. They do not need to be straight. And then if it feels good to, maybe take the hands on the elbows and just hang in this forward fold. Release the head and the neck. Let that just hang down. And you can take any small movements here, maybe rock to the side. Or it might feel good to just be in stillness. And think about bringing the weight forwards into the big toe. So the big toe is pressing into the mat, the weight's coming forwards. You'll feel that when you do that, there is more of a stretch down the back of your legs. And just take this opportunity to check in with your breath and any thoughts or self-talk in your mind, and just observe it. When you're ready, you can release your hands from the elbows and just start curling the body up really slowly to standing. So head and neck coming last, as much softness in the knees as you need. Just slowly curling the body up to Tadasana, mountain pose, to a lovely neutral standing position. Now, grounding through the feet roughly hip width apart, but they can be closer in together if that feels good. Inhale and reach your hands above your head. Exhale, come into a forward fold, hinging at the hips. Soften the knees as much as you need to. Inhale, lift the chest, make space, lengthen the spine, hands either to shins or to the mat. Exhale, frame the feet, soften the knees as much as you need to, and step the feet back into a plank position. Option here, instead of the plank, is you can have your knees soften to the mat as a modification, and do whatever feels right today in your body. And we're going to work through a chaturanga. So I'm going to do the modified version. So on the exhale, lower the knees to the mat if they're not there already, and slowly bring the rest of the body down to the mat. Inhale, roll your shoulders back, lift your chest, cobra, pressing those feet into the mat, engaging the lower body. Exhale, release the chest back down to the mat. Inhale, back up through tabletop. Tuck the toes under, and on the exhale, everybody meet back into a downward facing dog. So first downward facing dog of the practice. Remember that you can come back to child's pose at any time that you need to. And in your downward facing dog, we're just grounding through the hands and the feet. Your feet do not need to be flat on the mat and your knees do not need to be straight. The most important thing is lengthening the spine and lifting those hips up towards the sky. Remember that downward facing dog is an arm balance, it is an inversion. And it is a really strong place to be. So just check in with the breath. And then on your next inhale, step the feet in towards the hands. Lift the chest, make space, lengthen the spine, hands to the mat or to the shins. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, reach the hands up to the sky. Exhale, hands through heart center. Inhale, reach the hands up above the head. Exhale, hinge at the hips, forward fold. Soften your knees as much as you need to here. Inhale, lift the chest, make space. Lengthen the spine. Exhale, frame the feet. Step back into a plank position or soften your knees to the mat. And now you can work through your chaturanga, whichever version that is most comfortable for you. So you can come through into your cobra or your upward facing dog. So on the inhale, cobra or upward facing dog. Exhale, meeting back in downward facing dog. Just taking a couple of breaths in our downward facing dog again. And just remember that this is your practice, this is your time that you're giving to yourself. So make any adjustments or modifications that you need to today. Your body's not going to feel the same today as it felt yesterday, or if it will feel how it will feel tomorrow, and that's okay. On the next inhale, step the feet in towards the hands. Lift the chest, lengthen the spine, make space. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, reach the hands up above the head. Exhale, hands through heart center. And just release the hands to the side of your body for a moment. And you can just take a moment to close your eyes here if that feels comfortable. That's just an option. And just start to notice any energy that we've started to build in the body. Sometimes you can feel this as a tingling sensation. And just come back to your breathing. Notice has your breathing got faster, slower, and just observe. And when you connect to the breath, it brings you back into the present moment. And when you're ready, if your eyes were closed, just start to open them. And on an inhale, sweep the arms back above your head, really bringing the ribs away from the hips. Exhale, hinge at the hips into a forward fold. Bend the knees as much as you need to. Inhale, lift the chest, make space, lengthen the spine. Exhale, frame the feet with the hands and step back into plank. Bring your knees to the mat this time, so we're not going to work through another chaturanga. You may be pleased to hear. And so soften your knees to the mat, and then bring your hands away, and we're in this kneeling position, but our hips are away from our heels. Lovely. So make sure here that the legs are kind of hip width apart, so not kind of right close to each other. And you're going to come into a camel. Now, if you're familiar with camel, work with where you're at with it. If you're not, I suggest that as our first round of camel, we will bring our hands, so if you bring your hands to your lower back, really engaging the lower body. So again, using the pressing of the front of the feet into the mat to really engage through the thighs, the glutes. And the first thing is just on the inhale, really lengthening, bringing the ribs away from the hips. And then maybe, just maybe, you slightly start to come backwards. Just a really slight movement. Having made space in the body on the inhale, and you start to come back. So if everyone comes into this camel initially, really engaged in the lower body. And maybe your gaze starts coming towards the ceiling, but really kind of gentle movement. And just remember to breathe. And then when you're ready, just come back to neutral. So just bring the body back into a neutral position. And then we're going to come into camel again. This time, if you are kind of familiar with camel and you want to start coming a bit further and bringing the hands to the heels, then by all means do that, but do what feels right for your body today. So inhale, lifting, bringing the ribs away from the hips. Slowly, mindfully come back just slightly. Maybe you're coming back just slightly more than last time. Or maybe you're adjusting and bringing yourself slightly forwards and readjusting to do what feels best today. If you want to come into your full camel, and this is something that's in your practice, you can bring your hands to your heels, really engaging the glutes. And maybe start to bring your head back. Work with whichever version of camel that you're in. And just remember the breath. And when you're ready, slowly start to come out of your camel, bringing your hands to your lower back and mindfully coming back into a neutral spine. Well done, everyone. Lower your hips to your heels and just let the spine settle for a few moments. Take any movement that you feel that you need. And just come back to your breathing. And when you're ready, we're going to come back to lying on our bellies on the mat, how we started the class. So if you like to lower yourself down onto your front. And start to see how it feels to bring the right heel in towards your hips. So bring the right heel in towards your hips, and you'll feel a stretch through the front of your leg. And if your hand can come to your foot, you can start to guide it in. Not forcing anything or doing anything that feels kind of sharp or uncomfortable. It should just be a kind of stretch through the front of your leg. Then release the right leg and do the left leg. So bringing the left heel in towards your hips. Maybe you can take your hand on the foot. If you can't, no worries. Just think about bringing the heel in towards the bum. If you have a strap, you can work with a strap here, but no worries if you don't. And just feel into that stretch. And if it helps, you can always bring the body off the mat slightly, using your forearm to support you, and then work with taking the foot like this. If that helps you to be able to come into the stretch, that's always an option that you can work with. And then release that left foot away, and then you're going to see how it feels to try and see if you can take both feet in your hands. Again, no worries if this is not something that you're working with. What you can do is just continue with the stretches. If you do have your feet in your hands, start to see how it feels to lift the chest away from the mat. So our shoulder blades are rolling down our back and the chest is lifting. Exhale, release the chest back down. And then on your next inhale, lift the chest away from the mat again. And then now this time coming into a bow pose, see how it feels to also pressing the feet into the hands into the feet, bringing the legs away from the mat, coming into a bow position. Try not to let the knees come out too much to the sides. Think about bringing the knees in, really engaging the glutes, opening the heart, breathing and release. Release your legs down to the mat, your arms. Maybe take the head to one side and just release your body and relax into the mat. And when you're ready, you can roll yourself over or bring yourself back onto your back in a lying position. And then once you're there, just bring your knees in towards your chest and just give them a little hug. Maybe you bring your forehead comes towards your knees. You can take any little rocks side to side here, anything that feels good, just massaging the spine. And then when you're ready, release your legs down to the mat. Let your feet come out to the side and your palms come to face the ceiling. Start to maybe do a scan of the body. Maybe you start with your toes and your feet and work up through the legs, the core, through the upper body, the arms, the hands, feeling any sensations, giving yourself permission to just relax and release, coming into Shavasana. You can start to close the eyes if you haven't already, if that feels comfortable. Relax the jaw, the neck, the shoulders. Feel your shoulders and your hips melting into the mat. Notice your breath. And maybe see if on your exhale you can elongate that exhale to be a little bit longer than your inhale. This will really connect you to your nervous system, to your rest and digest mode, so that you can come into this place for your Shavasana.